once again, I greet our three panelists, Marika Meltsas from Tartu, Jānis Kreicbergs from Riga, and Gintarė Tautkevičienė from Kaunas. Thank you again for your presentations. Marika, let's try to get one thing very clear and straight. What is the risk of the scenario where we are not able to guarantee this necessary level of open access? What is the risk of this kind of sort of non-successful activity?
Okay, I think that we should have a good strategy, because in fact we have had this journey towards open access for almost 20 years. And I think we should very carefully think what kind of strategy and route to find, because what we see that we don't have that level of funding that we can just buy everything to have it for free for everybody. So we have to plan very carefully. And I think it looks like now that this quite a good initiative by Planners Coalition and also the Commission for the New Horizon is really to push for this retaining of rights for open access. So I very much hope that we can go for that route, and there are no risks in fact connected to with this route. So if we just keep closed, I don't see that it's a real risk, but it's like with everything, that you have to be in international cooperation and you have to meet the expectations of society, because nowadays we so much look for more research funding and so on, but we have to prove to the society that it's really needed and it's really touches every citizen. So this could be the risk if we don't do that right.
Thank you. Jānis, the study you introduced showed us that there are quite a lot of parties related to this process. What do you think, what is the dynamics today currently between these universities, publishing houses, researchers? How much there are sort of controversial wishes or desires, and how much that is, how much harmony is there or disharmony is there?
Well, I wouldn't call that disharmony, but there should be more harmony, of course. Especially the so-called triangle between libraries, publishing houses, and what I call research management department in universities, but also, as you mentioned, very different parties. And what's interesting in our research, we manage also to interview private research companies, which are conducting research under some state-commissioned research questions and different surveys. And the idea is that if for example, some ministry is commissioning some research for taxpayer money, I think the results and data of this research should be somehow preserved and made open. But from the other side, the company said, well, if you want to deposit data, prepare data, it will be so costly that either this research will be very expensive, either they will have to cut corners in quality of the research itself. So it's actually, our research showed that it's a very complex question, but thanks to the size of our country, and I think Estonia and Lithuania is quite close, in such a small country, if it's a very successful situation, you can make quite a good group to meet, to share, where all possible stakeholders are included. So I think this is a very good opportunity for our countries to know each other very well, to know people from universities, people from libraries, people from ministry, from different other publishing houses. So I think it's our opportunity. We are very compact and know each other very well. So that's a good point here.
Based on these presentations we see that open data and open science is very important for the libraries. It's very important for the scientists, for the researchers. Gintarė, how do you find, are there any studies or study questions that we should explore furthermore to explain that common position even more? Can we somehow translate our needs to some other language in a way to explain that why it's so important for our culture space and science to continue on that path?
I would say that all three countries are quite similar in providing services for researchers in data management support. But I think that Lithuania have issues with lack of professional librarians, because we lack not only data librarians and data stewards who should be trained to provide the services, but we don't have system for training librarians in Lithuania anymore. It's like few years, and I think that we have to cooperate maybe with Estonian and with Latvian to prepare professional librarians, especially if you want to provide support for researchers. And I think that it's very important to find resources for this, and in many areas all three countries have some joint programs, and in developing programs for training data librarians and data steward, we can match our efforts and our funding. And I would say that it could be solution in providing better services.
Do we know any good case studies that we know where we were able to explain to young researchers how important it is to follow this mindset of open data? Jānis in his presentation mentioned that there are various feelings about this, but question to you all: do you know any examples where we have where some countries or some communities have succeeded to explain this necessity in a very efficient manner. So where the young researchers are really behind that agenda in a way. Do we have any good examples of that?
Well, I would say that maybe young researchers are more open to this idea than maybe some senior researchers. The problem is that, of course, there's a difference between science disciplines. In such called hard sciences, they understand open data something different. It's just raw data. But in humanities, in social sciences, there are lots of different kind of data, personal information, and you have to invest quite a lot time and effort to make this data not just anonymized, not just open, but also to add different codings and so on. And it takes time, it takes work hours, and there's a quite big and quite right skepticism about this reusability. The problem is that researchers say, well, we will invest a big effort and big work to make them open, but will somebody use them again? So, and therefore, I think we have to think quite good what we do open and what maybe not necessary to open, but just maybe add metadata to be findable.
Okay, we have time for one last very quick question that came from the audience. Is it possible to get better prices for databases if we buy them together? I mean, the three Baltic countries together. Does that make any point? Just very fast reactions. Marika, please.
It makes a point if to buy together, but not the three Baltic countries. It's too small consortium. The three Baltic countries are, for example, in Eiffel Consortium, which is a consortium of almost some 40 countries. And there we have experienced really for years much lower prices and so on. Although now we are on a highest tier because the Baltic countries do better, but we are too small to make a big difference.
Everybody agrees, I see. Yes. Okay. Is there anything you would like to add now as a last comment? Gintarė, perhaps, about our discussions today?
I would like to add that some international organizations like Research Data Alliance, they do a lot of providing training for researchers and supporting different training programs, online training programs, and also providing support for young researchers to share competence, to share experience and knowledge. I think that international community do a lot to support researchers and accelerate open science.
Thank you. Thank you. I really hope that this brief conversation helped to explain furthermore why it's so important to go on with open data and open science developments. Thank you. Thank you all three speakers today here in our panel. Now.